Welcome! Today, we're diving straight into the culinary science behind one of the absolute most essential components of baking. We're going to explore exactly how different frosting bases directly impact the aesthetic, the flavor, and the structural integrity of modern cakes. You know, if you've ever wondered why one cake tastes like pure, grainy sugar while another just melts perfectly on your palate, or how cake artists actually create those gravity-defying floral masterpieces without them collapsing, well, you are in the exact right place.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the 2026 buttercream trend, the sweetest basics, the meringue masterclasses, rich custard buttercreams, and wrap up with stability for intricate designs. Let's jump right in. Section 1, the 2026 buttercream trend. We are seeing a massive shift right now in what modern couples and clients actually want on their tables.
What's really fascinating here is this big movement away from clinical, rigid perfection. Smooth fondant, totally out. Instead, we're seeing this textured, quote-unquote, plaster aesthetic becoming the absolute hottest trend for 2026. People want tactile, wabi-sabi-inspired organic movements. This means using a really high-ratio buttercream to create a minimalist design that honestly resembles raw stone or Venetian plaster. It catches the light dynamically, it feels wonderfully handmade, but to achieve that joyfully imperfect look, you absolutely cannot just use a standard grocery store frosting.
To actually get those gorgeous, highly photographed waves and ridges, bakers are pulling out palette knives for sweeping strokes, comb tools for uniform waves, skewers for playful swirls, and specialized tips for those dramatic peaks. But here's the catch. They have to combine these tools with a much thicker, intentionally crafted buttercream base. If your frosting is too soft, those beautiful textures just melt into a sad puddle. But if it's too sweet, piling on a thick layer of it is going to completely overwhelm the taste of the actual cake. And that right there is the ultimate baking puzzle we're solving today.
It's like a giant spectrum, balancing sweetness against the structural power you need for 2026's bold textures. We've got 7 main contenders: American, Swiss, Italian, French, German, Russian, and Korean. As we look at these, pay attention to how tweaking just a few ingredients completely changes their behavior. Some are incredibly stable in high heat but are super complex to whip up. Others are rich and delicious but will literally collapse at the slightest hint of a warm room.
Moving on to Section 2, the sweetest basics. Let's start on the most accessible end of the spectrum with the foundations of home baking.
So, we all know American buttercream. It is incredibly easy to make. Literally just 2 parts powdered sugar to 1 part butter by weight, maybe a splash of milk. Now, the big benefit here is that it crusts over. It hardens slightly when it hits the air, which is super helpful if you need to transfer a piped flour or want a base that won't smudge the second you touch it. But for modern, refined palates, let's be real, that grainy, tooth-aching sweetness can send your guests straight into a sugar coma.
So if you're looking for that Goldilocks balance, Swiss meringue is your professional kitchen staple. By heating egg whites and sugar to about 65 degrees Celsius over a double boiler to reduce that cloying sweetness, and then whipping it into a meringue with butter, you get a massive upgrade. It has this luxurious, silky smooth mouthfeel and a pale, gorgeous finish that takes color perfectly. The only downside? Because it's cooked to a lower temperature, it stays pretty soft, so it might not hold up those super intricate petal designs on a hot summer day.
All right, Section 3, the meringue masterclasses. Time to step it up to the more complex, professional-grade frostings.
The science behind Italian meringue is just phenomenal. You're taking a sugar syrup to exactly 118 degrees Celsius. Why? Because that specific temp evaporates the excess water, giving you the most stable, light, and perfectly balanced frosting of the whole meringue family. Unlike the Swiss method, here you carefully stream a boiling hot sugar syrup directly into whipping egg whites before beating in room temperature butter. Yes, it requires a candy thermometer and serious precision so you don't scramble the eggs or burn yourself, but the reward is a luxurious texture that practically laughs in the face of a warm room.
Section 4, rich custard buttercreams. Now what happens if we swap out those egg whites for egg yolks or milk?
Well, it takes us into a totally different flavor profile. French, German, and Russian buttercreams offer these deeply rich, intensely buttery flavors. French uses egg yolks and a boiling syrup for a naturally yellow, custardy frosting. German buttercream is literally just pastry cream beaten with butter. And Russian? Whipped butter and sweetened condensed milk. They are mind-blowingly delicious, absolutely perfect for cake fillings. But, and this is a huge but, If you try to build a towering, textured 2026 statement cake with them in a warm room, you are asking for a delicious melting disaster. They just don't have the structure. Which brings us to Section 5, Stability for Intricate Designs. This is absolutely vital for that botanical maximalism we're seeing everywhere. Listen to this firsthand insight from a Korean cake artist. They point out that Italian meringue is the beautiful match for intricately piped designs because it perfectly marries reliable structure with refined taste. When you're piping delicate petals for lifelike roses or peonies that absolutely cannot droop or blur, your medium is everything. American is too sweet and grainy. Swiss is too soft. But Italian meringue hits that sweet spot, holding the sharpest details without compromising on a really sophisticated flavor. And that directly leads us to an absolute game changer in the industry, Korean glossy buttercream, also known as GG buttercream. Scientifically, it's almost identical to Italian meringue, but with one massive twist. The butter is cold when it's beaten in, not room temperature. That single temperature shift completely rewrites the physical properties of the frosting. It becomes incredibly glossy, almost transparent, and wildly heat-resistant. Now, it does just taste like sweet cream butter, so it's not chosen strictly for its complex flavor, but as a sculptural medium for lifelike, glossy floral cake toppers, there is literally nothing else like it in the modern baking world.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to think about your next big baking project. Which structural and flavorful base is going to bring your edible art to life? Are you leaning toward that rustic plaster aesthetic trend where you need the silky volume of a Swiss meringue? Are you piping sharp, transparent petals with a Korean glossy buttercream? Or maybe you're secretly filling the inside tiers with a decadent, melt-in-your-mouth French custard. Understanding how these ingredients interact means you never have to guess again. You are now fully equipped to engineer the exact perfect balance of flavor and stability. So next time you see a gravity-defying wedding cake, you've got to ask yourself, is it a Swiss masterpiece or a Korean glossy illusion? Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.